All right, everybody. It's been a huge day. This is episode 24 of the Joey Mannarino Show. It has been a huge day. The Make America Great Again movement has had some of the most interesting 3 weeks, basically, that we've ever had yet. We saw that when you stick together and you actually do not bend, you can get stuff done. Matt Gaetz and the 7 Republicans who stood up with him against Kevin McCarthy, everything that they did was vindicated this moment. Today, we're going to talk all about it. Mike Johnson of Louisiana has just been elected the new Speaker of the House. He's a guy that last week you probably never heard of. I never heard of him. Most people in Congress heard of him. They knew what was going on. But for us who just listened to the people that we see on TV, we didn't really know who Mike Johnson was. But now we do. And we're very happy about it. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Europe. Things are heating up, things are boiling over. We're seeing the results of mass migration, and we are going to talk all about it because it needs to be discussed by people who want to talk about it honestly. Not a lot of people do. I definitely do. We're going to get into that and much more. But before we do, I want to encourage all of you. It's a dangerous time. People are going crazy. If you're not concealed carrying, you better be. You need to be. There's no other way around it. Look at the protests on the street. You think those people have your best interest in mind? These leftist lunatics who walk around saying all these violent and vile things, they don't have your best interest in mind. These people would stamp you out and stamp me out in a second if they could. So the number one way to prevent that, what? Carry. They won't touch you if they know you're armed. They don't bother people that are armed because they're not trying to get taken out. So, very simple stuff here. Carry your gun. I always have my holster. It's called VNSH. It's one of the best holsters I've ever had. It's comfortable. I haven't shown it on here. I haven't, because I don't like people to know what I'm packing. But go and get this holster. If you watch this show, they've got a special discount for you. VNSH.com/Joey. This is not a time to be out there without protection. And if you've got a comfortable holster like VNSH, you're going to feel really good. Really good. Anyway, let's get on with the show. We got so much to talk about. All right. So we're going to review everything that went down the past 3 weeks because it is critical to understand exactly how things have been going down. Let's get into it. So 3 weeks ago, 22 days to this day, Matt Gaetz went to the floor of the House of Representatives and filed something called a motion to vacate. You all know, you all saw it. He held his own against the whole swamp that really did not want him to be doing it. And he got that motion to vacate over the line. And things erupted. Kevin McCarthy was deposed. He was ousted. He was thrown out on his ass like he didn't pay the rent. But actually, what was to come next was going to show us more than we ever thought we knew. So we saw Patrick McHenry. He was the acting speaker. He sat there and he was pissed. He threw that gavel down, ran out the room like something was truly wrong. Nothing was wrong. What was wrong is that the order in Washington was about to be shaken up. The tree of liberty was about to be sprinkled all over. And what we saw was incredible. So Steve Scalise, he was the first one to win the first speaker's vote. That vote got killed. Now, if you listen to Gaetz on War Room today, you'll find out how all these things got killed. It turns out Kevin McCarthy was behind a lot of the killing. We thought Scalise and McCarthy were simpatico. We thought they were like, real together. Didn't turn out to be so true. It seems like Steve Scalise and Kevin McCarthy didn't actually like each other so much because Kevin did not want Steve inheriting the baton. So anyway, Steve Scalise never made it to the floor. People were very hardline about that. They did not want another person just ascending to leadership because Steve thought it was his turn. Not how it worked. Last week when we were here, we talked all about Jim Jordan. They gave Jim Jordan a chance at the speakership. And you know what? Jim would have been a great speaker, but it didn't work. The crazy, lobbyist loving Republican rhino moderates, they said, no, 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 we're not going to let that happen. And we named them and shamed them last week. And they deserve to be named and shamed for a long time because the American people were clear. The American people wanted Jim Jordan. So, these guys couldn't seem to get it over the finish line for us. They wanted to just keep things the way they were with their K Street lobbyists. They thought it was going to work out. So what did they do? Once Jim Jordan got overthrown, they brought in a guy who's the worst of the worst. This guy, Tom Emmer. We almost got Speaker Emmer. What a crisis that would have been. Nobody quite understands how bad Emmer was. I got calls from people that you wouldn't even believe saying, we got to stop Emmer, other activists, other people who are, people with big following. We got to stop Emmer. And these are people that I thought would have liked Emmer. Even the lobbyists wanted to stop Emmer because he's just that bad. So the deal with Emmer was this. He is not a Republican. He's a guy who was very happy with the national popular vote. He wanted to make that the law of the land, abolish the electoral college. This is a guy who voted with the Democrats on every omnibus you can think of. He voted for the debt ceiling bill. He voted for every continuing resolution you can think of. Emmer would have been business as usual on steroids. You might as well, and I said this very clearly on X, and a lot of people got very angry. I said you'd be better off with Speaker Jeffries. You'd be better off with Speaker Pelosi, because at least with Jeffries and Pelosi, the knife is going in your front. And if you're going to get knifed, you want to get knifed in the front. Emmer would have sat there. I'm a conservative. We are doing things in the conservative way. But the whole time he would have just been working with the libs. You would have had an omnibus budget. You would have never seen. I know Matt Gaetz said that every speaker candidate said that they would have released the J6 tapes. Do you really believe Tom Emmer would have released the January 6 tapes? I mean, really? I know he said it. I know people heard it, and I know this was what they said. McCarthy said the same damn thing. We never got the tapes. The tapes never came out. Still haven't seen them to this day. So Emmer was voted. Don't forget, 111 people in the Republican Party sat there less than 48 hours ago and said, yeah, Emmer's the guy. Emmer's our speaker. Emmer is who we want to lead the party. Tom Emmer. These are not people who care about your best interests. So luckily, thank you, Jesus, President Trump, he came out and he said, absolutely under no circumstance do you vote for Tom Emmer. He's a globalist rhino, and he's not the guy. Thank God that President Trump is the leader of our party and put the kibosh on that BS, because it would have been a big problem. It would have been a disaster. You would have been begging for Kevin McCarthy to be back if Tom Emmer was the speaker. It would have been the rhino speakership for the ages. And I don't think this guy should be the whip anymore. I don't think this guy should be in Congress anymore. If he wants to stay in Congress, he should run as a Democrat. So suddenly, somebody emerged that nobody had really heard of before. His name is Mike Johnson. He comes from Louisiana. And I remember thinking, okay, who the hell is this guy? Is it going to be some other rhino? So I started to look into him. And I did my research the way that I always do. I go to the Liberty score. And the Liberty score was 74. It's better than most. So that's sad, by the way, that a 74% Liberty score is better than most. But it was better than most. So I said, okay, we've got a little deal here. I went to look at his record on Ukraine. His record on Ukraine is fabulous. The guy is not a Ukraine guy at all. He voted for the first one. He voted for the Lend-Lease Act. But he didn't vote for a single appropriation to Ukraine after that. I put a lot of stock in that. One of my big issues is no more money for Ukraine. It's a corrupt nation. They say, oh, but it's our ally. No, it's not. When has Ukraine ever been our ally? They say, oh, but it's a democracy. No, it's not. Democracy? Freaking Zelensky wants to see the United States pay him $150 million so that he will hold an election. What the hell kind of a democracy do you know where you have to bribe the leader to hold an election? This guy just wants to keep the war going forever so that he can always have his power. The best thing, and I say it all the time, the best thing that could happen for the United States of America when it comes to Ukraine is for Russia to win that war and take it all over. Because if Russia loses that war, Ukraine is going to be oh, we're so poor and we're destroyed and we need money to rebuild. And Joe Biden is going to spend even more of your tax dollars and my tax dollars giving it to Zelensky so that he can rebuild Ukraine. What rebuilding Ukraine means is that son of a bitch needs another mansion and he needs another Ferrari. Zelensky is corrupt scum. But the nice thing, he's done. Doesn't look like Mark Johnson is going to give you a bill. Mike Johnson, my apologies. It doesn't look like he's going to give you a bill on Zelensky to get more money. Now, what we might see is a discharge petition, because every single person who voted for Emmer, you better believe these are people that will give money to Ukraine. If they would give power to Emmer, they will happily give money to Zelensky. So you're going to see one of these Rhino members. They're going to come out and they're going to give a discharge petition, and they're going to try and bring a privileged resolution to the floor to get more money in the coffers of Zelensky. And that's what you have to watch out for. And that's when we've got to get vocal, as we always do. We cannot accept more money for Ukraine. And Speaker Mike Johnson is a big step in the right direction on that issue. He was also good on 2020, which, I hold great value in how these people acted in 2020. If they were not willing to stand up for election integrity, if they didn't sign the Texas amicus brief, if they didn't vote against certification of the 2020 election, I don't want them in the speakership. I don't want them there. If they were unable to hold true to the values of the conservative movement, which is that if you have people stealing an election, you stand up against it. If they sided with Mike Pence, they're not on my side. If they sided with the rhinos who refused to decertify, they're not on my side. Mike Johnson stood strongly and firmly with the Texas amicus brief. He was a part of the construction of the Texas amicus brief. He was a huge part of decertifying the 2020 election. So when I hear these things, I like him. I like his bill from 2022, where he voted against giving any federal funding to any agency that is allowing drag queen story hour, transgenderism in schools. I hear that and I like that. So a lot of people have said, we don't know who Mike Johnson is. We're learning. And the best way you learn with these Congress people is looking at their record. And when I look at Mike Johnson's record, I like Mike Johnson's record. When he got the speakership last night, when it became clear that he was going to be the designate, first thing he did was pray with the caucus. When do you remember McCarthy ever holding a prayer with the caucus? Who does he pray to? The lobbyists on K Street? No. This guy held a prayer, brought everybody together, and he thanked Jesus. And that's how you do it. That is how you do it. The speaker's vote today, unanimous. McCarthy never got a unanimous vote for speaker. We haven't had, even Paul Ryan didn't get a unanimous vote for speaker. I don't think anybody since Boehner got a unanimous. Not a good comparison, but, just so you understand, it's been 12 years since somebody was able to get a unanimous speaker's consent like this guy did. So if everybody's in agreement that he's the way to move the party forward and unify, I'm happy. What scares me a little bit is this guy has never been in a huge position like this. He's never seen a huge amount of cash like this. If you look at his FECs, he's got about $1 million in his account. That's, for me, I would drop to my knees to get $1 million and pray to the money gods. But in reality, in a campaign, $1 million in your campaign count, that's terrible. That's actually really not huge. Kevin McCarthy, on the other hand, managed $70 million regularly. Now, I don't like that. I'm not saying I want money in politics, but how is Mike Johnson going to react when he sees all this money being thrown at him? I hope he reacts like an American patriot and says, screw the money. We're doing what is right for the people. I pray that's what we're going to get. I don't know that's what we're going to get. Let's see. The verdict is out. But here's what I do like, and I've been holding up this letter for a long time. I keep waving it around like a crazy person. This letter right here, he wrote it today. And if you haven't read this letter, this is his plan on how to keep the government funded and how to do it before November the 17th so that we're not stuck with an appropriations process that ends up with a continuing resolution. We got this document, and he said very clearly, he said, we all understand that our next speaker must be prepared to negotiate from a position of strength. The only way to secure that position is for the House to have passed all 12 appropriations measures. I'm confident that we can work together to accomplish that objective quickly in a manner that delivers on our principled commitments to rein in wasteful spending and put our country back on a path to fiscal responsibility. Here he says, in the interest of time, I would propose that we seek consensus to discharge the last two appropriations bills, labor, HHS, education, commerce, justice, and science, from the appropriations committees. There you go. We should also create a new working group to address member concerns with the agriculture, rural development, and FDA appropriations. As all of this is completed, if another stopgap measure is needed, he would propose that that measure expires on January 15th or April 15th to ensure that the Senate cannot jam the House with a Christmas omnibus. That's a good plan. I don't care how many people say that that's not a good plan. That is a good plan. And he says, meanwhile, I would suggest the following calendar adjustments for considering appropriations on the House floor. Week of October 23rd, which is right now, energy and water. Week of October 30th, you got 3 more. Week of November 6th, 2 more. Week of November 13th, 2 more. In this letter, he says, yes, it's an ambitious schedule, but if we get the speaker to actually unify the conference, we can do it. And guess what, DC? You've got to actually get to work. Guess what? Wake up. You work for us. And they better get to it. Then he goes even more and more. Look at this. He has a plan. He goes, October and November, we need to pass the resolution condemning Hamas, reach consensus for a legislative blueprint through the end of the 18th Congress, pass all appropriations bills and begin negotiating with the White House, and on and on and on. December, he wants to pass the conference report for the FY24 NDAA. He wants to pass the Farm Bill and begin negotiations on that and continue negotiations for federal year 24 appropriations. Then in January, he has even more. And May through July, even more. And this is my favorite part of the letter. August. Do not break for district work period unless all 12 appropriations bills have passed the House. I like it. So my verdict on Mike Johnson. I like the guy. I think we need a lot more in Congress like Mike Johnson. He's a workhorse, not a show horse. He gets the job done. He was on President Trump's impeachment defense team both times. So obviously President Trump seems to trust him. He is looking like a great choice. So I think we're going to find out. We'll see exactly what happens. We'll see exactly if we really like this guy in the end. But right now, from what it looks like, this guy right here, he has a great handle on what is going on. And I think we're going to be very happy to see Mike Johnson in action. I know I am. I think that everything that we went through for the past 3 weeks, the House paralyzed without a speaker. Number one, I could have dealt with it even longer because I was a great fan of the House not sending my money to any other country in this moment. I was a great fan of the House not having the ability to cut that $10 billion, $20 billion, $50 billion check to Ukraine for a nice little period of time. I was glad that we saw a pause in the spending. I was glad that we saw a little bit of chaos in DC, to be honest with you, because these people, when they're in there, all they do is make problems. So now maybe we're going to get a speaker that instead of spending money and creating more problems for us, actually brings the country together and does something good for the American people. I don't know where he is on the impeachment of Joe Biden, but I know he was on Judiciary with Jim Jordan. We'll see. Comer just uncovered some incredible stuff. If you look at the findings that Comer had, I mean, these problems that Joe Biden is about to have, if they actually take them seriously, he's about to go through some things. He's about to go through it. They found a $200,000 direct payment from James and Sarah Biden, who are his brother and the sister-in-law or something. In 2018, James Biden received $600,000 in loans on the day that he received the loans, which he only received because his name is Biden and he promised that he could have the entire deal for the AmeriCorps to receive funding from the Middle East. On the same day that he got that money, Joe Biden got $200,000 in a personal check from James Biden. Wasn't that sweet? Isn't that just some brotherly love? No, it's not brotherly love. It's because Joe Biden's a corrupt scumbag and his brother paid him some money because Joe Biden's name is the reason that his scumbag brother got the money. And yeah, this is James Biden. This is the brother that has the nudes. Oh, more nudes. Hunter has nudes. The brother has nudes. The daughter got molested in the shower. Everybody in Joe Biden's family. Have you ever seen? This is a genuine question because I've never seen a family like this. Have you ever seen a family where almost every member of the family has nudes? I mean, I've got a small family. I've got a couple of cousins. I've got a mom. I've got a dad. None of my family has nudes out there on the internet. You can't find a nude of us. I mean, you're not going to find a nude of me on the internet. If you did, depends where it is. You might actually like it. But you know what? That's not the point of the situation. The point of the situation is that Joe Biden's family, everyone is a nude. It's like a requirement. God forbid we ever saw Jill's nudes with God forbid. But you never have seen a family where every member has naked pictures on the internet. It's like the Kardashians, except these people you don't want to see at all. These Kardashians look okay. It's all plastic. What can be wrong? This is not a normal family. They're corrupt, they're disgusting, and they're slime. With that being said, I hope Mike Johnson carries on with that impeachment inquiry so we can get this son of a bitch accountable for what he's done to this country and what he's doing to the whole world. It's a damn mess. It's a damn shame. And we need to stop it. We need to stop it. Anyhow, we should be happy, but we cannot forget that 110 of them voted for Emmer and 44 of them even voted for McCarthy last night. I've never seen in my life grown men accountable to somebody, not accountable. I don't even know what they are. They grovel at his feet the way they love this McCarthy guy. Did you see Carlos Jimenez? I'm only Kevin McCarthy. He did it for 2 weeks. He's the Miami congressman. I told Laverne Spicer, I said, you should run against that stupid son of a bitch, Carlos Jimenez, because he's no good. He's just no good. I will only vote for Kevin McCarthy. Mike Lawler, I will only vote for Kevin McCarthy. These are stupid people. These are stupid people. These are not serious human beings. Carlos Jimenez, Mike Lawler, I will only stand with Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy doesn't give a fuck about you. I mean, give me a break, people. Kevin McCarthy doesn't care about you at all. You are nothing to him but a vote. If he could get another vote from somebody else in your district, you'd be thrown to the curb. Kevin McCarthy is not one of the good guys. Kevin McCarthy is not America first. Kevin McCarthy was deposed because he didn't get the job done. Gates got the job done of getting him out. And I applaud every single one of those 7 that stood with Gates. Nancy Mace, Ken Buck, Bob Good, Tim Burchett, and the others. They did a great service. Eli Crane, I like Eli Crane. Eli Crane is in his first term. Eli Crane, since he got in, that man has a serious pair of balls. He's really been holding strong for conservative values. That took a lot. And then I saw this tweet from him from some staffer in DC or some lobbyist. And they said, oh, Eli Crane needs to watch what he's doing. Kevin McCarthy gave him all this money and Tom Emmer gave him all this money and he voted against them. That's how you gauge loyalty? So you give me $50K and I got to be loyal to you. You give me a break. It's not about loyalty to anybody but the people that you are elected to represent. He wasn't elected to represent Tom Emmer or Kevin McCarthy. He was elected to represent the people of Arizona in his district. It's a conservative district. He's not playing the bullshit with you guys. That's why I like Eli Crane. He's one of the strongest lately. So all of that to say, conservatism, America first, had a good week. Glad to see it. All right, everyone. So in the news lately, and I'm glad it's back in the news because it's a problem that never stopped. People think it stopped. It never stopped. the rape in Europe, the raping, the migrant problem. The migrant problem has been huge. And we see on Twitter, people talk about it. But the ones that really understand what's going on are the ones in Europe who are posting the videos. And I lived in Europe for the past 5 years. I just got back recently, lived all over Austria, London, Italy. I lived in Rome, Milan, all different places for a different period of time. Spent a lot of time in Spain, spent a lot of time in Hungary. Europe's a beautiful place. The history in Europe, you don't beat it. You don't get better history anywhere. The food, you don't get better food just about anywhere. They don't have all the chemicals like in this country that make you super fat. Shout out to my wife's brother. She's a personal trainer. Not she, he, and he's been getting me on a diet, but it's hard. In Italy, I didn't have to diet at all. I just walked down the street, got whatever I want, get a big plate of pasta, get a big bottle of wine, a big glass. You can even get a glass of wine. Doesn't matter. Have dinner, have the dessert, gelato, have it 2 times a day, have it 3 times a day, and you don't gain weight. Here in America, you gain weight walking in the door of any restaurant and eating the most healthy thing. You can gain weight eating salad in this country because we are full of chemicals. It's disgusting. That's why everybody's 400 pounds walking around looking like Lizzo's ass. It doesn't make sense. But we, as a people, need to focus on the real problem that's happening in Europe, and it's coming from Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel years ago agreed to allow something we call the Great Migration. I call it the Great Migrape. Rape, because that's what they're doing. The migrants are walking in and they are raping everybody. You want to get raped? Take a trip to Europe. Come for the pasta, stay for the African dick in your ass. I really shouldn't have said that, but it's true. It's true. These people are coming from all parts of Africa. God, we should cut that, but I don't know if we're going to cut that. It is extremely true. Look at France, okay? France. This is a country that is beautiful. This is a country that has so much history. And I went to France not long ago. I went in 2017 and I went again in 22 at the end of the year. 2017, I went with my ex-girlfriend. 2022, I went with my now wife and my dog. Both times. Now, it was worse with my ex because she was blonde. So I think they like the blonde women. It probably makes their rape fantasies a little more fun. My ex was blonde, so they didn't, all the jeering, ooh, they loved her. This is creepy. This is creepy. Now, my wife, she has black hair, but she's very beautiful. Luckily, it was winter time, so she had a coat, so she was more covered. So they didn't get as excited. But even she had a few incidents where and trust me, it wasn't the Frenchmen leering and gearing. But in France, at the Eiffel Tower the other week, a female was raped while waiting for her friends. They put a knife to her and raped her. She's at the Eiffel Tower. She's at the Eiffel Tower. This is a tourist site. This is supposed to be full of security. She got raped, 23 years old. African migrant. African migrant. I've got nothing against the people of Africa. I love Africa. I think Africa has so much culture. I listen to more Afrobeat music than anybody. This is a problem of migration because the people going to Europe are used to a different culture. In Africa, the standards are just different. In Africa, you don't have these issues because they're not even issues. You don't hear it talked about because it's not talked about because the cultural norms are different. Women don't walk around like the women in Europe. Let's just be honest. The women in Europe are much more liberal and free with the way they dress. So a lot of people, if you're not from a culture that's used to that, you see somebody dressed in a certain way and suddenly, something rises and you want to go and play in the wind. Well, that's not how it works in Western society. Women dress how they want to dress and men don't rape them. That might not be the case all over the world. So you look at the statistics in France, and I have them printed out right here. Look at the numbers. In 1971, the rate of declared rape in France was 2 cases per 100,000 people. 2 per 100,000. In 2015, when the Great Migration started, the rape rate for France was 20 cases for 100,000 people. Now that's higher, but oh well, 20 per 100,000, you can live with that, right? What you can't live with is what it is now. Today, 39 cases per 100,000 people. So in 8 years, the rape rate has doubled. What changed? What changed in the last 8 years? Well, you know what it is, and I know what it is. And if we can't talk about it, we've got a problem. It's the Great Migration. Somebody's doing the raping. They're not. It's not bugs on the street raping them. It's not flies. The rape is happening from people who come to the country and don't know the norms. The other day, they raped a 93-year-old and a 95-year-old in a hospital. They went into the hospital and raped these two women. Now, on Twitter, they get mad at me. They say, Joey, you talk about rape too much. I talk about rape too much because I don't like seeing people get raped. I hate seeing people get raped. Look at the southern border. There's all this rape going on at the southern border that they send to people with birth control. There's raping everywhere. It's a free for all. It's a rape party. And nobody seems to care. You talk about these things on X, and I read the replies from the liberals, and my mouth just falls to me. It's like, oh, who cares? Oh, are you blaming the migrants for the rape? Yeah. Yeah, I am. Because look at the numbers. You think the Americans are driving to the border to rape people? If you're an American and you want to rape somebody, you're a rapist, you live in a city, you go rape someone in your city. You're not going to drive down to the Laredo Pass or Eagle Pass, Texas, and go rape somebody there. No, somebody's doing the raping, and it's the people coming across the border. And then they hit you with, oh, so you don't care if an American person rapes somebody, but you care if a migrant rapes somebody? Is it worse? You know what? You know what? It is worse. Because if the law was followed, if the people weren't here illegally, if there was some form of vetting in Europe of who they're letting in, then that woman whose life is now ruined because rape is, it's not fun. So they're not having a great time after they get raped. Their lives are much, much different afterwards. You think they're happy? So if these people didn't belong here, if they are literally here in the country illegally or without any vetting, like in Europe, where they actually do have some form of legal status, but they're not vetted, yeah, actually, I am more angry about that because it's unnecessary. It's something that literally never needed to happen and literally never would have happened if you wouldn't have allowed them in the country. So, yes, I'm mad about it. I don't like it. I don't think it's good. And I don't think anybody is talking about it enough. The girl from Amsterdam or from the Netherlands, Ava Vladerik, she's talking about it. And she gets the same kind of hateful comments as I do. Oh, well, is it worse when a migrant does it? Oh, well, oh, shut the hell up. We don't want to see women have their lives ruined by crazy rapists who don't understand the way the West works. If you come from a country where rape is common, you need to be taught a lesson when you get to this country or when you get to one of these countries of how our norms work. This is why something called assimilation is important. It's not about racism. I'm not a racist. You're not a racist if you don't want to see a woman get raped. You're a common sense person. You're a smart person. Give me a break, people. Give me a break. That's all I got to say. All right, everybody. I thank you so much for tuning into the Joey Mannarino show today. We've got some late breaking news. It's as I'm recording this. Jamal Bowman, the fireman, the Mr. I Love It Hot. He walked up to that fire alarm and he pulled it because he said he thought it was the exit door. I can't stop smiling. He has just been referred to prosecutors. He has been criminally charged with a felony misdemeanor for pulling the fire alarm during the vote that he did pull that fire alarm on. He is going to have some time. Oh my God, I would love to see this man go to jail. I would love to see Jamal Bowman not just get a slap on the wrist. This is, finally a Democrat gets some accountability for doing something that they've done. Look at this. I mean, I'm ecstatic. Are you not? You hear this news and you just can't help smiling. Jamal Bowman might be going to jail. Now we know he won't. We know he won't. But you know what? I'd love to see him get a record. Jamal Bowman. I actually don't want to see anyone in jail. I don't want to see anyone go to jail. That would not be nice. But the fact of the matter is, I am very glad to see that finally, we are seeing a little bit of accountability be held. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. I just can't stop reading that news. The Capitol Police did not buy his story and they sent it over to prosecutors. If that doesn't make you happy, I don't know what will. People, we are going to have a beautiful rest of the week. Today is Wednesday. We are on episode number 24 of the Joey Mannarino Show. I appreciate all your support. And if you want to support me, go to Twitter. You go to that subscribe. I make it $2 a month, so it's very accessible to everybody. Go and support the show. It's literally $24 a year. It helps. And if you want to support our sponsors, we spoke about Goldco at the beginning of the show, vnsh.com/Joey. They are another company that you absolutely need to check out. We talked about them. Goldco, they handle all your investment needs. They're one of the best out there. We're going to enter a time where the money in our country is basically worthless. We're going to enter a time where literally the dollars in your pocket don't buy anything. This little paper is going to become worthless. You look at the money in your wallet, and this money, I promise you, every single thing that you see in this wallet, these dollar bills, these little dollar bills, these are not going to buy you anything. This dollar bill, gas used to be less than $1 a gallon. I just filled up my tank for $40. So as inflation rages, as inflation goes higher and higher, we need solutions for that. The solution for that is investing in places that are not going to go bust when everything else does. Gold, silver. If you're a fan of this show, they give you a great discount with my promo code, goldco.com/Joey, or call the number that is on the bottom of this screen. I thank you so much for watching tonight. Have a beautiful rest of the evening. And if Jamal Bowman, if you're watching, don't drop the soap, my man.